What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be putting my Arb single compressor that I previously removed into a Apache Pelican style box from Harbor Freight. I removed it from the truck just to simplify things and also so I could carry it in another vehicle or take it somewhere else and it's not, permanently attached to the truck. So these are the boxes from Harbor Freight, Apache brand. My other boxes I've picked up are used Pelicans and they're awesome. But I mean, this was, I think it was on sale, it was like 27 bucks. And it's good enough quality, and I'm not necessarily, this isn't going to be out in the weather, so I'm not super worried about it being 100% weatherproof, even though it does have a seal. And I'm also going to have to drill some holes to mount some things. So just going with a nice little cheap box was kind of all I needed. So this is the compressor. It's an Arb single compressor. I used to have it mounted in my engine bay, and I had it mounted on this, and the way it was mounted, it started to crack when it was mounted on. So I just went ahead and removed it, and also that helped me get rid of a ton of wiring that was in the truck. That's all for the compressor because that's optional for lockers and all that stuff. But I'm gonna strip that down, make it real simple, and have it all in this box. And then I got this from Harbor Freight as well. It's like $4, just a little simple hose that'll fit in there. This is our fitting, and then of course our regular air chuck, but it should turn out pretty good. As far as mounting this thing in here goes, at first I wasn't going to, but I think I'm going to go ahead and just mount it straight to the bottom of this. Yes, there's going to be a little bit of bolts sticking up to the bottom, and this won't sit perfectly flat on a surface. Not too worried about that. I'm more worried about the function. I thought about bolting it to the side here, but the curvature of this, it just wouldn't bolt up real flush. Same with the back. So kind of bolting it to the bottom is kind of my only option here. I debated on making a raised plate to bolt it to. Maybe something to bolt here, and then it had a plate and then that bolted to that. But then it raises the compressor up, and I'm already running slim on room there for that to shut. So we're just gonna go ahead and bolt it right through there. Like I said before, it's a cheap case. It's only 27 bucks. So yeah. Alrighty, got the compressor all mounted. I did settle on mounting it in that corner. As you can see, the bolts come through the bottom. I may change them out with a little bit shorter ones, or I may actually just take the angle grinder and cut them off so they're not sticking out quite as much. Or maybe even finish them off with some acorn style nuts. So it'll be kind of a round, smooth bottom. We'll just have to see. This will be kind of temporary. Still got to do all the wiring and everything like that, so this is kind of just a mock-up. Before I cut my old harness up and everything, I kind of wanted to see where everything's going to sit. I just made this plate right here. Either this switch or a circular rocker switch, which will be way easier to drill a hole for than a rectangle, will recess down into this plate, and then the relay and the rest of the wiring will all be hidden right underneath this, so it'll be nice and clean. This will be tucked down in there, and really the only wires you'll see are that and the lead for the jumper cables, well, the jumper cable ends, the clips that are going to hook to the battery, and those are going to wrap around something right here to kind of keep them nice and tidy. And then the hose will be coiled here, and yeah, it's coming together. So I know I said before I didn't mind those studs hanging out the bottom, but I did. So I got these, I actually had these sitting in the garage. They're Allen's with these kind of flat washers that'll be nice and flush on the bottom. And then actually what I did is went and picked up some nuts and then just tack welded them to the bracket. I'm gonna pull this out and paint it and paint the bracket and everything like that, and then I can mount it back to the compressor, and then it'll be easy because I just set the compressor in there and then thread the bolts up to the bottom and thread them into the welded nuts, and that'll be a nice and easy mounting solution that doesn't have studs hanging out the bottom. Alright, so I got my harness all made up. Obviously I just need to test it now. It's very important that you put something together, you want to test it before you finish it all out, because then if you got something wrong, you're gonna have to undo everything you did. I had some old leads that I ended up soldering these cables to. This is all wrapped in the braided protectant. I cleaned up and got rid of a lot of the harness. It was kind of hard to get it super neat, but it's about as neat as it's gonna get for kind of how many wires are running everywhere. I'm gonna go ahead and test it and see if it works. right, so that verifies that everything works. And I'm gonna have a wiring diagram I'm gonna put up for you guys that you guys can follow, so you can wire it up and have it working just right. Now they got my compressor mounted where it's gonna be. I'm kind of mocking back up my aluminum plate, which is gonna hide all the wiring. I got some little steel spacers under there. They look like this, just not as long. They're about half the size. Actually, I got two different sizes, wasn't sure which one I was gonna need, but that's what's holding that up. This is what I'm gonna be wrapping my excess cables around, and I took some 3M tape just to mock it up. At first I was gonna put it sideways here, but it actually, when you go to close it, it would hit the compressor. So it's kind of looking like this spot's gonna be the best, because the compressor will actually sit right in between this wedge, and then I can shut it without it hitting. And also, it's not gonna be over here where the hose is and hit that. So I got my Allen head bolts with those other washers coming sticking up through the bottom. There's those steel sleeves I was talking about. And then this plate will sit right on top like that, bolted right here, and then it rests on the shoulder of the compressor right there. Also, this space under here gives me the ability to run my power cables that go to the battery from where all the wiring is going to be here under the compressor. I can mount my fuse right here, and then it'll be able to coil around here. So works out real good that there's a space under there. Alright, here's everything kind of mocked up. You can see there's the air hose, the harness and everything's in there. See, that's our pressure, our cutoff switch. These are our main power cables, a snake around here. These are our battery clamps, got those bolted to the lid, nice and clean, just like the bottom ones. And they just kind of wrap around nice and neat there. Actually, when this closes, just perfect, goes just to the side of this, and this kind of wedges up in here. Yeah, digging the way it's turning out. Really next, all I need to do is mount my switch. As I was saying before, I could go with a round switch. Here it is, a round switch or the rectangle switch. And I think I've come to the conclusion I'm going to do the rectangle switch just because it's going to look better than this little round switch right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this piece of metal in with me to work tomorrow. And then we have a plasma cutter there, and I'm going to go ahead and plasma a rectangle for this to slide down into, just because cutting a rectangle hole in aluminum isn't an easy feat without a plasma cutter or something of that sort. Alright guys, she's all done. On the top, just these two bolts sticking out. On the bottom, just got these couple bolts. They're pretty flush with the bottom, so no worries there. Back side, one bolt here that's holding my fuse inside, I'll show you. But other than that, the outside of the case is looks pretty normal. Go ahead and open it up. We got our leads that are hooked to our battery. They're coiled around this bracket here. I got this at a hardware store. It's actually supposed to be a handle, and this surface is bolts to something, but instead I drilled some holes and mounted it up right there. As I talked about before, I made sure that it was in a place to where when this shut, it had clearance. Because if I were to put it sideways originally like I was going to, this part would end up hitting the compressor, which wasn't going to work. Here is our fuse right there, and it's very important for your circuits to always be fused if you don't like fires. All of our wiring is hidden under this plate, and I did end up taking this plate to work today and taking a plasma cutter and cutting a rectangle, so that's in a perfect little spot. This is our hose, and obviously that just plugs in right there, and then that'll hook up to an air chuck. And it's kind of nice, this is a pre-coiled hose, so it keeps its memory and just kind of tucks right there nice and neat. So I guess next we'll take this over to the truck and we'll show you it in action. Alright, so as you see, just hooks to your battery just like a set of jumper cables. That runs down to your box here, plugs into your hose fitting. Got our air chuck. You turn it on, and that pressure switch we wired in stops when it reaches, I think it's 100 psi in the manifold right there to keep it from overpressuring. So it cuts off, but as soon as you start using it, it cuts right back on and fills that manifold back up. Alright guys, so that's it for the air compressor video. One thing I do want to say is when you hook this compressor up and you want to use it with your truck, it's best for it to be running. I didn't have it running for my little demonstration there, obviously, because you had to hear me be able to talk. So definitely make sure the truck's running, because that will draw a lot of amps on your battery and kill it fast, and you don't want to have a dead battery. So appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and stick around, and I'll keep putting some more DIY videos out here for you, maybe a camping video here and there. Appreciate you guys watching. See you next time.